Because, you know, yeah, and so the press is kind of, they're kind of like, they got you, they're writing these things about you, whatever.
Sure, and the press is doing the same thing, they're piling on.
Sure.
You know, they're trying to do is, and you know, they're gonna stick up for the board president. You know, they're gonna try to make him look good. Anytime you see an article, you'll see they'll quote him, they'll try to make him look good.
Sure.
But when it comes to the teachers in the classrooms, they have, you know, they're against us. What we're going to do is our council of delegates voted 2 or 3 weeks ago to do a boycott of the news. And we're going to reach out to the public, and we're going to boycott the news for probably about a month and a half, and we're going to reach out to some of the other groups too and ask them to join us.
Now, how can you, like, say, to boycott the news? Is the news going to you right now? Are they, any of the reporters or anything going
Some
to
of the
you?
reporters do, but what we're going to do is ask people to cancel their subscriptions.
I see. All
See,
right.
let's face it, the only way that you can get somebody's attention is in the pocketbook.
It's in the pocket.
You and I know that.
Yeah.
And if right before Christmas, people start canceling their subscriptions, get somebody in the pocketbook then.
Right.
Because they've been distorting their editorials. I don't care what they say, but when they lie and when they distort, that's wrong.
Sure. Sure.
That's wrong.
Very true.
It's dead wrong.
The thing, actually, one of my personal pet peeves, as far as the schools, is I noticed the school that I grew up in, the school that I went to when I was a kid, School 75,
Okay.
that's closed down. I would like to see that reopen.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of like, they use it for storage now, or
Right.
whatever, but that school's right there in the inner city, and there's a lot of kids, a lot of families that live around there, that they could just walk there without having
Right.
to, worry about taking a bus or whatever, going far away. What's the chances of seeing that schools like that reopen? What's the chances?
Probably slim, because a lot of our schools really need major work. School 75 is an old school.
Mm-hmm.
They need a lot of work in them. Like, some of them still have cold furnaces, and the heating is not good.
Sure.
It's hard to rewire them.
Right.
But you're right, you know, that's one of the things that they should be looking at, is opening up some of the schools. Because we have overcrowding. They were gonna close one of the schools this year. I mean, they're closing it for 6 or 8 months, and,
Right.
you know, they have to completely renovate it. But our schools, the average Buffalo school now is close to 70 years old.
Okay.
So we need a lot of work, and we gotta build a lot of new schools, and that's what's really interesting too. I'm gonna tell you, the city
Yeah.
and the mayor have not been good to the schools.
Okay.
They used to contribute close to 28% or 25% of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're down to like 14%
Right.
as to the city, and now they won't even come up with $5 million except for another 2 years from now to help rebuild the school. So, but they get away with it. No one complains.
So you think $5 million will take care of most of the schools that are already
Well, that's all.
already need work?
That's all that they needed to come up with is $5 million. No, it's going to cost like $100 million to do all the schools. But the
Right.
school district's in a good position right now because they'll get 95% of it reimbursed.
Mm-hmm.
So all they have to do is come up with the money to start doing it, so they can sort of, you know, once they do a school, they get reimbursed for it. It's like a continuing cycling of money.
Yeah.
But the city, all they wanted the city to do was come up with $5 million next year. Well, the city said, well, maybe in 2 years. This city has actually cut back on the amount of money it's given to schools. Now, you tell me what message that sends
Yeah.
to the kids, and to the
And
community.
to the community, yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's very true. How overcrowded are the schools? Are you schools?
They're very overcrowded. We're renting space now. We have teachers teaching in, you know, in shower rooms. We have teachers teaching on the stage. We have some classes in the halls.
Right.
It's not good.
So they're not facilitating the increase in students at all?
No.
Well, that's terrible. That's
It is.
horrible.
It is. When you have kids, I mean,
Yeah.
most of the kids don't have lunchrooms.
Yeah. See, now the biggest thing with me is what messages is sending to people who aspire to be teachers in Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Is there a model city that Buffalo can compare itself to that they can, so they can use as a measuring tape for progress?
Rochester's doing a decent job. They're funding their schools a lot better than Buffalo is.
I'm glad you said that. I lived in Rochester for like 8 years, and I used to work for the school district, and I've always noticed that their teachers union does very well.
Yeah, well, the union as well, because there's a good working relationship, and yes, and the city puts decent resources
Yeah.
into the schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you talk about a city that's only putting like 17%, if that, of its money into the board's budget,
And they got
what's the message there? What's the message?
They don't care.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't care about you.
Yeah. And what happens is that as the schools then get more overcrowded and you have less services, people move out. As
Right.
people move out, then you have to raise taxes, you know, to keep pace with things. And then if the schools keep getting worse because you don't have any money, more people move out. Instead of them thinking and saying, you know, maybe I should invest in kids' education, aside from the fact that it's a good thing to do for kids, maybe that'll keep people in the city. They don't make the connection.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Don't make the connection.
Why don't you think so? You think it's too much personal resentment, or
I don't
you know what I'm saying?
know.
What could be the reason?
I honestly don't know.
And to me, see,
I
like
think it's a lack of leadership.
probably so, but that crosses the board. It's not just the school board. It's a lot of people.
Oh, I'm talking about the whole
Politicians,
city.
whatever. Yeah, the whole city.
I'm talking about
You
the whole
know,
city.
that, you know, that everybody is thinking on that plane, and the whole city's not getting anywhere. You see, so
We have people, I think, there are a few exceptions in the city,
right.
that rather than do what's right, put their finger in the wind
Mm-hmm.
and do what they think will get them elected the next time, because if they didn't get elected, what would they do? What job would they have?
What job would they have?
Yeah, I mean, can they do something else?
Probably not.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, so what people do is, instead of saying, look, I'm gonna do this because I think it's the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know, people don't elect me, that's okay, at least I've done what I thought was right.
Yeah.
What they do is they put their finger up in the wind,
Yeah.
see which way the wind's blowing,
Yeah.
make the decisions that way. They don't make the hard decisions.
Well, nobody wants to be the icon.
Yeah,
So
right.
everybody wants to go with the grain.
Sure,
You know what I'm saying? If the grain is going backwards, so be it.
yeah, that's where they're going.
You know, that's where I'm going to go.
That's right.
And you know fully that it's going to go, that's going backwards, and still do it.
Too many of them do that. Too
Yeah.
many of them are afraid to take a stand. They need a job.
Yeah.
They can't go out and get a regular job.
Right.
They need this job, or
Sure.
for whatever other reasons, and they're afraid to stand up and say, look, we're going to put more money in for education for kids, because the kids are the future.
Now, what local political leaders does the BTF have standing behind it?
Well, we get along well with some, we don't get along well with others. I'm gonna tell you, the person that we get along with the best, that I think has done the most for the city, is the
Mhm.
deputy speaker.
E.
Deputy speaker,
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, he has, the programs he put in, you know,
Okay.
have gotten people to get an education.
All right.
The money he's brought into the city, because he's the deputy speaker, and it's the whole
Mhm.
West New York delegation, but he's the leader of the West New York delegation.
Right.
He has brought more money into the city for Roswell, for schools, than
Mhm.
anybody else. And I've known the deputy speaker for a long time.
Right.
And Art can be tough,
Yeah.
but there's a man that's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in.
What about the mayor?
I'm disappointed in the mayor. I thought the mayor would do well. He said he was gonna be the education mayor, and
Mhm.
he's actually wound up putting less money into education. And I'm disappointed in what he's
That's an education in itself.
He gave us that, but I didn't know that's what he meant by giving us.
Yeah, you didn't know, yeah, at the time you didn't know.
I didn't know that's what he meant.
Exactly, yeah.
He gave me an education.
What about the council?
The council, you know, I think they should have put more money in for
Yeah.
education last year. They didn't.
Mhm.
And it's hard to do once the mayor sets the budget, because
Right.
then they're on the hook, they have to raise taxes then,
Sure.
because the mayor gets you in a box. But I have more hope for this council. You know, I mean, it's gonna take a while, because there's a lot of new people in there, and it takes a while to learn the ropes.
Right.
But I have more hope for this council. And the council president's been good too. The council president's not afraid to speak up when he thinks something's wrong.
All right. Now, see, the whole thing is, what about as far as business? Is there any chance of privatizing any schools or anything?
Well, there have been some schools that have been privatized, but I'm going to tell you that it's been mixed. We're not fighting. I have a real simple philosophy about charter schools.
Right.
We don't fight them. We say, look, as long as they have to meet the same standards that we do,
Mhm.
take all the same kids that we do, that they don't just say, well, we're just going to take the cream of the crop here,
Yeah.
and if kids act up, we're sending them back to the public schools. And if they're handicapped kids, that they have to educate handicapped kids.
Yeah.
And as long as they have to meet the same standards as we do, I say, bring them on.
Yeah.
And if we can't compete with them, then maybe there's something wrong with us.
Right.
So, as far as that goes, but a lot of them have failed, a lot of them have done well. And the problem with charter schools is that they take money out of the public schools.
Okay.
See, let's say that there were going to be 200 kids that are going to go into the charter school. Let's say 100 come from the Catholic schools or parochial schools, and 100 come from the Buffalo public schools. All of the money for those kids comes out of the public schools, whether they went to the public schools or not. That's the way the law is written.
All right.
And then the money comes out of there.
All right.
So here we are, when somebody establishes another school, instead of the state having picked up, said, well, here's a different pot of money. What they do is they take it out of the pot of money that's meant to go for Buffalo kids.
Right.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
We already don't have enough money.
Right. So what type of avenues would you have, say, for example, for troubled students?
Troubled students, we have a lot, and that we need more though. See,
Yeah.
key for troubled students is early intervention.
Right.
What we need to do is we need to identify, usually a child that's having trouble is a family that's having problems too. If we can reach out to those families in kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, second grade, and make contact, because I really believe that most parents want to be good parents. Somehow, but when you have children that are having children, sometimes they don't know the things to do, and they just haven't learned the things to do.
Right.
So we have to help them say, look, this is the right thing to do. Like my mother and father were divorced when I was 1, so she was a single parent.
Okay.
So I don't ever buy into the fact that just because you're a single parent,
Right.
that means that
Exactly.
there's a problem.
Right.
Because my mother was strict with me and she raised me from when I was a kid. So
Yes.
but she had some decent role models. She didn't have a kid when she was 14 years old or something like that.
Right.
So I think the major thing that we have to do is provide services in the early grades as soon as we can to families, for kids, because problems just get worse. And then I taught emotionally disturbed kids, and then you just start having a bad image of yourself.
Yeah.
And then you start acting out, and
Sure.
things get worse, you don't
Sure.
learn, it gets worse and worse and
Yeah.
worse and worse.
You're right.
So the key is early grade intervention, working with kids early, and that we need the whole community to do that. We can't do it alone.
The thing about it too, I kind of, you talk about your teachers and everything. My heart goes out to you guys because you're taking on a job that where nowadays you're competing with everybody. Everybody wants to raise kids. You know what I'm saying? Television wants to raise them.
Yep.
The internet wants to raise them. Gangs want to raise them.
Yep.
Drug dealers want to raise them. Everybody's competing with the actual parent and saying, don't listen to your parents, listen to us.
Right.
And feeding them the wrong information. And the information looks attractive to that kid.
Absolutely.
And you're at home, you're just saying, listen, do the right thing, just do this and this, do that. Kid says, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay? So you're fighting that. And so a teacher's job is no joke nowadays. They need all the assistance they can get. So if kids see teachers and teachers' unions and the school boards fighting, that's going to lessen their respect for authority.
Sure does.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure does.
Why should I lose it? You guys aren't getting along with the school board.
Sure.
So that's going to cause more resentment. So I know how it was with me. I recognized that stuff when I was in school. Okay. So when I was even at School 75, most teachers agreed with each other. Never seen any disagreement.
Right.
Okay. Never had any disagreement that we could see with the school board. They never complained because if you did, kids will look at that and they will
Right.
play on that. And the same thing with in high school, whatever. They'll take advantage of that.
Sure.
So, like I said, I would never. It's not a job I would take. Okay, being a school teacher, especially in high school, whatever. Like I said, my heart goes out to you. But I want to thank you for being on the show also.
I want to thank you for inviting me. It's been a great conversation.
Yes, it's been very good. And thank you for watching Point Blank and tune in next week.